Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3.
Test, test. Hello, hello, hello.
This is the Board of County Commissioners' regular meeting on January 20th, 2026 in Board Chambers, Tavares, Florida.
Okay. Well, we're going to get started. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Lake County Board of County Commissioners meeting this January 20th, 2026. We welcome you. Our invocation today will be given by Pastor Tony McCoy from the Hope International Church. And after the invocation, we'll remain standing, and then we'll all say the Pledge of Allegiance together. So, Pastor.
Good morning, Lake County Commissioners and all those who are in attendance. I want to first of all just start off by thanking each of you for this opportunity to open this time and gathering in prayer. It is always my privilege and honor to stand before each of you when called upon. Before I pray, I would like to share with each of you our annual theme that we have at Hope International for 2026. Our annual theme is Kingdom Impact. Now, Kingdom Impact is made visible through how we lead, how we serve, and how we love one another in our community. Each one of you have answered the call to lead, to serve, and to love Lake County and our communities here in Lake County. I want to personally thank you for giving your time, your talents, your expertise, and most of all, your hearts to impact the lives of our Lake County citizens. Let us all pray, please. Father God, we thank you for these men and women who have accepted the call to serve the citizens of Lake County. We are grateful that when you called them, you also equipped them for every responsibility and decision before them today, but not only today, but throughout this year, 2026. My prayer is that you would grant them wisdom, clarity, and discernment. Help them to remain anchored in you, focused on their purpose, and present on the work that you have called them to do. May their leadership continue to position Lake County for a positive transformation, and may each of their decisions that they make be tied to making a kingdom impact for your glory. My prayer is that you would bless them, their support staff, and all those who serve alongside of them. And may we always be reminded that our strength and our victory as a community comes through you. We ask all of these blessings in your Son, Jesus' name, and we say amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate your message. Welcome. All right, Jennifer Barker, County Manager, do we have any updates today?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. There are no updates to the agenda this morning.
All right. Moving along then, we have our Employee Service Awards and Quarterly Awards, and I'll call on Janine Nelson, the HR Manager, to present those awards.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Janine Nelson with Human Resources and Risk Management. This morning, you have the privilege of recognizing employees who have reached significant milestones in their careers with Lake County. We have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and even a 30-year employee this morning, as well as some retirements and our quarterly service awards. So let's get started. All right, with 5 years of service, all right, we're going to start with Michael Pritt. Michael Pritt is a Security and Access Control Specialist with the Office of Facilities Management. He began his career on October the 26th, 2020. Glenn Pirtle serves as a Senior Building Inspector with the Office of Building Services, beginning his career on November the 9th, 2020. Paul Hammond, Senior Code Enforcement Officer with the Office of Code Enforcement, November 9th, 2020 also. And then Brad Kaplan began his career with Lake County on November the 9th, 2020. He serves as a Fixed Asset Surplus Specialist with the Office of Procurement Services. All right, and then we have Jay Hauserman, Began his career with Lake County on December the 7th, 2020. Chief Maintenance Supervisor with Water Resources. Suzanne Howe, December the 1st, 2020. She's a Program Associate with the Circuit Judges. And Robin Steinman, who began a career with Lake County on December the 20th, 2020. She serves as an Office Associate 3 with Public Works Traffic Operations. Any of those individuals who are here for 5-year recognition, if they could stand, we're happy to give them a round of applause. Okay, we also have, with fire rescue, some 5-year recognitions as well. Catherine Innes, Emergency Dispatch Lead, and Kathy Davis, Michaela Gunter, who are telecommunicators. We had a fire class 5 years ago, Fire Lieutenant Paramedic James Fatizzi, Gerald Hood, Fire Lieutenant EMT, Matthew Batista, Justin Joseph, and Joshua Pertel, firefighter paramedics, and firefighter EMTs are Anthony Huntley, Jacob Ippolito, Michael Late, and Jordan Neal. They began their service with us in October of 2020. Over 10 years of service, we have Justin Elkins. He began his career with Lake County on October 26, 2015. He's our Water Resources Director with Water Resources. We also have James Coyle. Began his career with Lake County on November the 30th, 2015. He's a Legal Office Associate with the Office of the County Attorney. And then Daniel Flannery, who began his career with Lake County on November the 30th, 2015, Traffic Operation Supervisor with Public Works Traffic Operations. Would those individuals stand, please? 15 years of service. Richard Miller began his career on November the 29th, 2010. He's a road senior equipment operator with Public Works Road Ops Special Projects. Brandon Rogers, December the 20th, also 2010. He's a road senior equipment operator with Public Works. He serves in Umatilla at Maintenance Area 3. Mark Shepard, senior building inspector with the Office of Building Services, December the 6th, 2010. And if those individuals would stand, we'd be happy to recognize them for their 15 years. We're moving on to 20 years. Justin Puyo began his career with Lake County on November the 7th, 2005. He serves as a park ranger with the Office of Parks and Trails. Michael Springer, Lake County service since November 14th, 2005. He's a support services manager with the Office of Library Services. Eric Wellhaven began his career with Lake County on December the 12th, 2005. He's an office manager with the Office of County Probation. And then Bobby Bonilla, who began his career with Lake County on December the 12th, 2005. He serves as one of our assistant county managers. Would you like to stand for us, please? Thank you. 20 years ago in October, we also had a fire class, Fire Lieutenant Paramedics celebrating 20 years, Ryan Carroll, Jason Graham, Dane Wilson, a Fire Lieutenant EMT, Ryan DuPont, and then firefighter EMTs, Mark Green, Jared Rabel, and Jacob Wiley. If you'd like to. 25 years of service. We have Aaron Chaddock, who began his career with Lake County on November the 27th, 2000. He's a service desk manager with IT. And then Jason Rivera, Fire Lieutenant Paramedic with the Office of Fire Rescue, began on December the 21st, 2000. I know Aaron is here. We do have a 30-year employee that we're celebrating today. I didn't see her come in. Nikki Wright. Nikki Wright began her career with Lake County on December the 11th, 1995. She's a systems database manager with the Office of Public Safety Support. So if we could give her a round of applause. So we have 3 retirements to recognize today. Ricky Magnus serves as a sign fabricator with Public Works Traffic Operations. He's celebrating 30 years. He began with Lake County on October the 17th, 1995. I did not see him come in today, but let's give him a round of applause. Okay. Jim Globig began his career with Lake County on August the 27th, 2012. He's an assistant traffic operations supervisor with Public Works, traffic operations, and he's celebrating 15 years of service. Jim, do you want to stand up? We're also celebrating the career of Anthony Deaton, Tony Deaton. He's a chief probation officer with the Office of County Probation, celebrating 26 years. And I'm going to introduce Tommy Carpenter so he can say a little bit about Tony.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tommy Carpenter, Assistant County Manager. Thank you for this opportunity to say a few words about Tony. I'm going to stick to his wishes and make it short and sweet. So, Tony, if you come on up. I've had the privilege to work with Tony in my capacity as Assistant County Manager for about 4.5 years, and I can tell you that of my over 30 years of public safety, it has been one of the greatest honors and privileges I've had to work with someone. So thank you, Tony. All right, I have a few words I just want to, how do you say something about someone that's been in public safety so long? So today I have the privilege of recognizing someone who has dedicated nearly 4 decades to public service, our Chief Probation Officer, Tony Deaton. Tony began his career in 1986 as a parole and probation agent in Prince George's County, Maryland. Next, he worked with the State of Maryland Department of Corrections as a parole and probation officer. Eventually, Tony moved to Florida, joining Orange County Corrections as a probation and surveillance officer. In 1999, Lake County was fortunate to hire Tony as its chief probation officer and has led the office ever since. Now, one of the requirements for that job was typing 30 words per minute accurately. And I'm happy to report that Tony passed that test, and thankfully his leadership skills far exceed his typing speed. Over his 39-year career, Tony's passion has always been helping people and strengthening his community. His accomplishments speak volumes and include: he proactively worked with the criminal justice system to improve outcomes for delinquent juveniles, substance abusers, and those struggling with homelessness and serious mental illness. Worked to improve the probable cause violation of probation procedure to enhance prosecution and reduce the likelihood of legal challenges. He served as the vice chair of the Lake County Public Safety Coordinating Council, which provided oversight to reduce jail overcrowding and helped identify safe alternatives to incarceration. He served as a member of the Lake County Workforce Task Force to promote economic workforce development opportunities for those who utilize the services of county probation. Served as a board member of the Florida Association of Community Corrections, which facilitated professional training and development opportunities for probation agencies throughout Florida. He played a key role in shaping the Lake County Opioid Task Force and implementing the county's drug court. Tony and county probation personnel provide a significant role in staffing the county's Citizens Information Line before, during, and after when the county's Emergency Operations Center is activated in response to the hurricanes and significant rainfall that has impacted Lake County. Tony has truly left his mark on the county, but after nearly 4 decades, he's reached an important conclusion. Work is cramping his style. So he's turning over the reins to a talented team and leaving the probation office even better than he found it. So what's next for Tony? He has big plans, starting with fishing, kayaking, and family time. He's aiming to visit 30 lakes in 30 days to figure out which of his fishing rods really does work best. He'll spend time with 3 children and has planned trips to New Mexico and Scotland and visit his dad back home in Maryland. Tony, thank you for your hard work, your dedication, and your leadership. You made a lasting impact on Lake County and will be greatly missed. We wish you the happiest and healthiest next chapter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Right. Next up would be our employee quarterly awards. We'll have an employee of the quarter, supervisors of the quarter, and also a team of the quarter. So we're going to start with Mary Cook. Mary serves currently as an Office Associate 3 in Parks and Water Resources. Parks and Water Resources nominated Mary Cook as this Employee of the Quarter. She became an employee 2 years ago during the transition of the Lake County Water Authority to the Lake County Board of County Commissioners. She has been instrumental in helping the transition and a tremendous asset to both staff and upper management. She now supports not only the Lake County Water Authority, Office of Parks and Trails, but also mosquito management, aquatic plant management, the water lab, and facilities management. From managing camping, kayak, canoe, pavilion, and ball field rentals to fielding phone calls from staff and residents with questions, she continues to maintain a strong customer service focus, continually and consistently providing excellent service to both external customers and internal staff. They've come to rely on her kindness, helpfulness, and deep institutional knowledge. Congratulations, Mary. Would you stand? Okay. We give you not one, but two Supervisors of the Quarter. We recognize them. Jeff Johnson, Road Superintendent Public Works, and Adam Shirk, Roads Assistant Superintendent Public Works. Together, they help anchor the daily operational effectiveness of the Public Works Department with road operations, providing essential frontline services that support county infrastructure, while supported by an exceptional group of area maintenance supervisors, field, and administrative staff. They consistently set the tone and standard for how the Road Operations Division performs. They are known for their exceptional customer service, both internally and externally. They assist other county departments by providing timely support, collaboration, and practical solutions. In the field, they handle some of the most difficult and emotionally charged situations with residents, consistently demonstrating patience, respect, and clear, open communication, even under pressure. Their ability to balance firm decision-making with empathy reflects the highest level of professionalism. With more than 40 years of combined service to Lake County, Jeff Johnson and Adam Shirk exemplify unwavering dedication, institutional knowledge, and pride in public service. Thank you for all your hard work and congratulations to you both. Would you both stand? Okay, last but not least, you've seen their work. The team of the quarter is the State of the County Communications staff. So we're recognizing Jeff Foley, Communications Manager, Jason Andrews, Videographer Editor, Lexi Farmer, Public Information Officer, Paul Long, Creative Services Manager, Brian Peterson, Videographer Editor, and Chelsea Velez, Public Communications and Outreach Coordinator. This talented group of individuals are the recipients of the Team of the Quarter Award based on their extraordinary work on the State of the County video. The video was presented at the Board of County Commissioners meeting on the 16th of December 2025 and was extremely well received. The team's commitment to showcasing the very best of the county's values of leadership, customer service, dedication, teamwork, and professionalism made them highly deserving of recognition as Team of the Quarter. Would you all stand, please? Thank you very much, and this concludes our presentation this morning.
Thank you, Janine, and thanks to everybody who received recognition this morning. And the State of the County work was really exceptional. You guys did a great job. Excellent job, everyone. I know. All right, we're going to move ahead to our minutes approval. We've got minutes from December 2nd, 2025 and December 9th, 2025. Oh, I should have said,
You're good. Good morning.
call on the clerk of courts.
I do have those two sets of minutes for your approval this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Cooney. That was a second from Commissioner Smith. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Moving then to citizen question and comment period. We're entering the portion of our meeting when the public can discuss items that are on today's agenda, with the exception of any zoning items. Anyone who's joined the meeting through Zoom using their phone may press star 9 to virtually raise their hands. If you are participating through Zoom, we would ask that you would click the raise hand button to let us know that you wish to speak. And also, we do provide for 3 minutes of speaker time. So when the alarm sounds, we ask that you wrap it up, and we try to honor that as best as possible. So moving along with the cards that we do have that are under general comments, and then we have a couple on items that will come up a little later, tab 14 and 16. Farmer Banks Helfrich.
Farmer Banks Helfrich. I live in the Clay Road District, South Lake County. Farm tip of the day: there are 2 types of crops, perennials and annuals. Perennials live year after year after year, usually 4 or 5 years. Annuals only live 1 season and then they die. And did you know that eggplants and peppers are perennials? Madam Chairwoman, board, distinguished guests, I brought with me the bucket. Over 200 years ago, we all carried a bucket around with ourselves because we were all firefighters. Today, up in Tallahassee, they are talking about eliminating property taxes. And property taxes basically fund fire, police, they fund parks and libraries and education. So let's take that part and see how we do that. Some of the ideas they have on the table: first and foremost, to eliminate property taxes for those over 65 years old. Another one is to eliminate property taxes for those who have lived in their house at least 10 years. Another one is to freeze the property tax when you buy the home, and it only goes up 1% to 3% per year. This is not an elimination of property taxes. This is just to keep it at the same level, and it always comes back to the same level every year. Another one is to increase the homestead exemption to $250,000 from $25,000 we have now to $50,000 that we have now, which is a pretty equitable cut across the board. It is not an elimination of property taxes, mind you. Now, if we eliminate property taxes completely, we might have to all carry buckets around with us because we have to find ways to find the revenue. So what are some of the ideas for bringing the revenue back? One is to increase tolls for non-Florida residents. One is to eliminate tolls for Florida residents. Another one is to increase tourism tax and have it expand to be used on roads, on fire, police, and whatnot. And then the fourth one, which always escapes me, yes, to increase consumption taxes. Now, with all that said, 9 out of 10 of us in this room basically do not like to pay taxes. We hear it all the time. 10 out of 10 of us like what taxes give us. My mom always said, you pay for what you get. So in the meantime, right now, we can all go to Tractor Supply and buy a bucket. It costs $4.99 or 2 for $8. Or we can think of a way to make sure we have fire and not carry around a bucket with us everywhere. I am Farmer Banks Helfrich. May you all be blessed. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Joe Famazzi.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm here to speak about the MSTU tax. I got an update from the Lake County Road Department, and I thank them for that. I still don't understand about the spending. We have the several poles that we're probably paying rent to Duke Energy that are not activated. So we put the poles in before we knew we had the power. That wasn't fiscally efficient. Also, if you go down Hook Street, there's several poles that we're paying rent on down there also. When is the Hook Street going to be finished? I know NAR's already got their credits, so when are they going to finish the Hook Street? I don't see anybody out there working. I don't see anybody doing any kind of thing. So we're paying for things out of the MSTU tax that are waiting on other things. And that's kind of putting the cart before the horse. So maybe we could have some answers about that. Also, landscaping down there, I think, is interfering with possible commercial development in this situation. You can make no turnoffs from there because all the palm trees and the pretty plants he put in there, with making it difficult for commercial to apply to make turnings off of Wellness Way, which is supposed to be an economic development. So, thank you for your time.
Joe, I see that you've got a card on tab 14 that's on our consent agenda regarding the wildlife corridor deed. I didn't know if anyone's going to pull that off of consent. Well, I was going to ask him to make his comments, and that way we wouldn't necessarily have to.
Okay. So my comment is that I'm worried about this as a way for the developers to get more impact fees, creating the wildlife area, or an scapegoat to say that, hey, look, we complied with the Florida law as far as making spaces for wildlife, when actually it's a trail, sidewalk cutting through a area that would be considered a wildlife area. So I think I'm just kind of concerned that is this going to be a scapegoat for them to take an open space that's supposed to be conserve area and turn it into some high-end selling point for the homes. I just want to make sure that the developers are not getting the advantage on this particular thing. So I'd like you to look at that. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Do we have anyone online? No, okay, all right. So we will bring it back to the board. And we have the clerk of court's consent agenda, Mr. Cooney.
And I have 4 items in my consent agenda this morning for your approval.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, that passes 4-0. Moving then to consent agenda tab 3 through 14. That includes the one that was just discussed.
I'd like to pull tab 14.
Okay, so we'll pull 14. Any other items that need to be pulled?
I'm sorry, you pulling what?
Pull 14.
14.
All right, so this is tabs 3 through 13. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving then to tab 14.
So since I pulled this, I just have one simple question. This is for the wildlife corridor. Is there any possibility that we can convey this property over to St. John's Water Management?
So we are looking for a long-term solution as far as ownership and ongoing maintenance of the wildlife corridor, since this is a state effort to identify areas throughout the state to be used as the wildlife corridor. First, we want to get the transfer over to the county, and then Kathleen will be working with stakeholders to identify long-term solutions.
Okay, so this is a couple-step process. First, we have to own the land, then we can approach St. John's, correct?
And question though, on that, would St. John's be the owner of the other portions, or is it just, are there a variety of owners through the corridor?
Yeah, it could be St. John's, it could be Florida Fish and Wildlife or the state park system. They're all have similar missions, but believe it or not, sometimes they're a little bit isolated and work in silos, so it takes a little bit of time.
Who would be who would be adjacent in this case?
I mean, I think it's just whoever is gonna be willing to take it. It's probably gonna be, in my opinion, it'd probably be Fish and Wildlife or the state park system, I think. Okay. So a little bit of perspective on this. It has always been the intent that this would be, the idea was to get the land first, which is very much needed. It is a pinch point in the Florida Wildlife Corridor that's been identified. Concerns were, can wildlife actually move underneath the roads? So now that's built into the design under the 516 and then over to the Green Swamp, the state park, and Hiluchi Reserve. So all that's been worked out. There was some reservations from Fish and Wildlife as well as the state park about having land on the other side but not having access and it sort of being a dead end. All those issues have been worked out. The plan is to keep the corridor going. There would be access for wildlife into the Green Swamp underneath the roads. The idea has always been to get the land first and then, yes, transfer it over. It'll be the question that came up during public comment about access, it is passive, so there won't be trails or, active fields or anything like that for amenities for people to use. There'll be a trail that's traversing or paralleling 516 that will provide, being close proximity to the wildlife corridor, you'll be able to view it, of course, but it will not be something that people are walking through and requiring a lot of maintenance, so.
Correct, and that's the reason why I was kind of wondering if we were going to get the land first and then convey it over to the
Yeah.
state, because it's a state initiative, so.
Yes. Yeah.
With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Second.
Yeah.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Moving along then to presentations. Meg Brew, Economic Development Director. And we have a presentation today with CareerSource.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Meg Brew, Director for the Office of Economic Development. This morning, it is my sincere pleasure to introduce Pam Neighbors, the President and CEO of CareerSource Central Florida, which is Florida's second largest workforce development board, serving Orange, Osceola, Seminole, Sumter, and of course, Lake County. CareerSource Central Florida is charged with curating local talent for high-demand industries, meeting local business and workforce needs, and cultivating economic growth and prosperity in the communities that they serve. Our local CareerSource office, which is located on the Lake Sumter State Campus in Leesburg, has been a phenomenal partner to Lake County, working hand in glove to provide assistance to individuals, solve complex problems, and elevate the entire community. Their collaborative and proactive response to the loss of 3 major employers over the last year and a half has been instrumental in mitigating disruptions at both an individual and community level. So without further ado, it is again my pleasure to introduce Ms. Pam Neighbors.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Commissioners. It's so nice to be with you this morning on this very chilly morning. I feel like I'm back up north. But it's my privilege to just spend a few minutes with you to tell you a little bit about the impact that CareerSource Central Florida has had on Lake County in the last year. I was with you not too long ago as we talked about our services to the Kroger employees, and I want to tell you a little bit about that, as well as more generally about what we have done in Lake County in partnership with you all this past year. So first of all, our mission is to connect Central Floridians to careers and develop skilled talent for business, and we really dedicate ourselves to ensuring every day that that is a customized process, both for our businesses here in Lake County as well as for all of our career seekers and job seekers as they are navigating new waters or different waters. And so just generally what we do at a high level for career seekers, we do a lot of very in-depth employment services, career coaching, job training. As you know, I'll talk a little bit about upskilling, job readiness, and employment connections. For businesses, particularly for small businesses, we really can be their human resources department. We provide customized recruitment and placement, and I'm very proud to say that for every 3 individuals we refer for a position, we know that our employers are hiring 1. It's a pretty good and great standard as you look at also staffing agencies. So in 2024-25, which would go through June 30th of 2025, we know that we served just under 4,000 Lake County residents, both through our on-site career center at the Lake Sumter State College office, but also through our virtual services centers and in community locations where we're meeting those career seekers who need support. 1,465 individuals actually worked one-on-one with our career consultants, provided an employment plan, and were on a path either through direct placement to work or through training. And 122 of those received a training scholarship to go to training at many different training providers in Lake County and beyond. An example of that are one of our other large partners is Lake Technical College, where we provide a lot of training, but also in Lake Sumter State College, air conditioning contractors. We have a lot of work with apprenticeship, first response training group, Apple One, Valencia College, just to name a few. For our employment and wages, we know that so far, as measured through the Employ Florida system, where we actually know of wages earned. We have 340 individuals placed who are making an average wage of $18.20. Our target wage is $18, but we know that many people are going to work beyond 18 and more in the $20 range, especially if they've gone through training and have a new skill. Key population highlights are that we also prioritize services to veterans, and so we know that 42 individuals served were veterans, as well as youth, and this is youth who are out of school, not engaged in high school, college, or work. Those are 109 out-of-school youth that are actually getting a trade or a skill and going to work in this last year. For summer youth, some of you are familiar with our summer youth employment and training program. We actually trained 86 individuals beyond the 109. And you might ask, what are the top targeted training sectors that you are providing apprenticeships or scholarships or internships? Well, healthcare, of course, as a top employer here in Lake County, 43% of the training that we do is in healthcare, construction and utilities, 21%, and then trade and logistics for warehousing as well as truck driving, CDL, and so forth is 14%. And for our business community, we actually had accounts working with 153 businesses. The services I provided before, hiring and recruiting, workshops, career fairs, and also human resources services. For example, if a business asks us, how can I hire competitively? What would be a good wage? We can provide them a lot of business intelligence to kind of shape that hiring process, as well as work with them to recruit appropriate candidates. Here are just some of our business partners and also our training partners on this slide. But we also have worked with a number of other businesses, Spherion, City Electric, Primus Pipe and Tube, which is actually in Sumter County, and Insight Credit Union, a great partner. As we talked about earlier, we also provided immediate rapid response to the Kroger closure. We have already hosted 2 dedicated job fairs. Since we last spoke. We coordinated employer and nonprofit and training provider outreach. We've had a lot of response from businesses as well as from our other public and community partners to hire individuals. We know that to date, we've had just about 460 individuals who have attended and registered in Employ Florida. That's really great because that's almost half of the impact before actually the closure has happened. So that is really good news. We know that the participants are completing eligibility and going through the next step in getting appointments. We've had 35 employers involved in the job fairs and direct hiring, and 6 training providers who have provided information and credential pathway information to make individuals understand what might be the next step for them. And then we've already registered 104 dislocated workers into services and continuing to provide that service as they transition from Kroger. I want to tell you a little bit about a success story with a business here. You are probably all familiar with IntelliSteel, but I was not familiar until this last year that actually CareerSource Central Florida had a big hand in actually staffing up that organization initially when they were not even in a actual location. They were in a trailer. So I want to show you a little bit about an individual that we placed there who is now on an incredible career path.
Mark Likely, tech specialist from IntelliSteel. Basically, I'm a training specialist. I'll train either the labor-ready workers that we have from a temp company or something, or if we get sourced out from a subcontractor, I'll train them up on what we do with the metal. CareerSource Central Florida was helping me out a lot because when I was looking for the job, I couldn't find a job. I found a flyer at my apartment complex saying there was a career sourcing job. Within an hour or 2 of me being there, I had a job with IntelliSteel. So basically, I'm making sure all these studs are in the right place. I'm making sure we got the right strap connections. So we did a house in the Bahamas, and within, I want to say, a month of that house being built, a hurricane ran through the Bahamas. The only thing that fell down on it was just shingles. And that's how we got like 4 or 5 more jobs from the Bahamas. It feels good contributing to society by making structures for people, safe houses from hurricanes. So it does definitely feel good helping people out where they need it. Oh, it's been instrumental in my future. So ever since I took this job, now I'm getting certified for my builder's license so I can just be even more in tune with building houses and helping out my company as they help me out. The jobs last around from 2 to 6 months, maybe a year. So when you get finished that job, it's no better feeling because all that work for that 6 to 8 months all comes to a culmination of just you finishing it. I would say the benefits of Career Source Central Florida is that you're going to have a job and it's going to be consistent hours and you're going to be put in a spot where you want to be at. So wherever you want to progress in your life, you actually tell Career Source Central Florida where you want to be at and they'll put you where you want to be.
Nice.
So just a few more highlights in this last year. Yes, we have been responding to the Kroger closure, but we also had FEMA Disaster Center at the Career Center at the Lake Sumter State College office that actually supported 1,000 residents in the past, back when we had some hurricane impacts. We also co-hosted a career expo with Lake County Schools, have a great partnership going with them. We have expanded our low-income resident services through the Eustis Housing Authority. We provided monthly career services at Kagan Crossing Library. We also have a great partnership with South Lake Chamber Staffing. They feel like we are the staffing company of the year, which was very great honor. And we co-led a countywide HR summit with the lead office here and Lake County EDC to provide more information about our businesses to our businesses and provide that outreach. We have continuing partnerships, as I mentioned before, with Lake Tech, Lake Sumter State College. We're looking at expansion into locations in the south part of the county in this next year in a community hub approach. And we're very proud of the work that we do with all of you. And I really want to recognize also Gustavo Henrique, our Career Center manager, and also Yolanda Green, who is our business representative. They really do amazing work every day in the community here for you in Lake County. And that is my presentation. If you want to learn more about us, there's great QR codes. And I will take any questions at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam, for being here and all the great work and the update. And thanks so much for your help with the Kroger situation. I know a lot of people are very appreciative of you all stepping up and helping us with that. But excellent. I love the IntelliStill video there. It's a great Lake County company that's out at the Ford Commerce Park. And
incredible work they do there.
Yes.
I had a chance to tour in this last year. I was really impressed. And so we should be telling this story for Lake County as well as for Career Source Central Florida. So yes, I'm also really encouraged that we have such a good outreach from the Kroger population already before they've actually left their jobs. That's really encouraging.
Thank you.
all right, any questions or comments? All right, great.
Thank you again. Appreciate your support. Yes, I will. Thank you.
All right, moving along to tab 16, and Mike, I see that Mike Stevens has a comment card on, and do you want to wait until after the presentation, Mike? What's that? Okay, sure. Excellent.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm Mike Stevens, Chairman of the Friends of Lake County Trails, and also I'm the Chairman of the Florida Greenways and Trails Council for the state of Florida. I come today to support the Wekiva Trail and the Wekiva Trail presentation you're about to hear, the announcements you're about to hear. This trail really has a possibility of being transformative for Lake County, and it's something that I hope we all really get behind and support. The trail will not only link Lake County communities like Sorrento, Mount Dora, Tavares, Leesburg, Wildwood, but it'll also link all those communities to all the trails that have already been built in Seminole County, Orange County, Volusia County, Brevard County. You can actually go right now from Sorrento, where the trail dead ends, all the way to Titusville by trail. Without getting on a road, and it's already complete. So this trail and this extension will link us to all those communities and link us to all that economic benefit. And that's really what I want to focus on is everybody understands the quality of life, what trails do, and people want the quality of life. And if you look at National Home Builders Association, National Realtors Association, they write reports on trails all the time about how important they are for quality of life. But really what I want to focus on is the economic benefits and economic impact of trails. I've brought you that information before. I've sent it to you. I probably deluged you too much with all those economic reports and so forth, but I can't emphasize enough how important that is, because it's one of the only investments that government can have an expense or an investment in where you can actually return, you can actually measure that return. So there is a positive return on those kind of things. And it doesn't take much. You can go out and just look at some of the trail towns like Winter Garden, Dunedin, downtown St. Pete, Inverness. You can just go to those communities and see what that municipal investment has brought in terms of private investment. Because it's not just the initial investment that you're bringing in there, it's the private investment that follows it, because they understand what's going to happen and what those communities, how they've been regenerated by that trail. So I think that's really important. That's one of the things I really wanted to focus on. You know, if you look at it, not only have the communities invested in it in terms of bond referendums and special sales taxes and other things, but communities around us that have been doing this for 20 or 30 years now have made it a part of their general fund. It's not just a bond referendum. It's not just a sales tax investment. It's not piecemealing it together. It's actually a part of their general fund, so that every year they're investing in those trail systems because they see that return. They see what it's doing for their communities and the money that it's bringing into the community and the retail and so forth. If you haven't gone to some of those communities like downtown Winter Garden, downtown Dunedin, downtown St. Pete, some of those things, I really encourage you to do that because you can visually see that impact. I can bring all the numbers to you. I can bring all the studies to you. And most of them, quite frankly, are very old. Most of them are 10 or 15, 20 years old because they invested in these trails 20 years ago. So we're kind of behind that ball. We kind of missed the boat initially. We're like 20 years behind. So we're kind of making up time. So I think, again, this trail can be transformative to get us there, because once we extend it from Sorrento into downtown Mount Dora, downtown Tavares, it's already built halfway to Leesburg, and Leesburg's already studied the other half to get it there, and then they're going to Wildwood. That'll all connect. It'll all connect to completed trails, not only for our residents, but to bring people into downtown Mount Dora, downtown Tavares, downtown Leesburg, Sorrento. So that, again, I can't stress enough the economic impact of this thing. Trails are expensive. We all know they're expensive. But when you turn around and look at what they're doing for those communities, when they're bringing in $40 million a year in Orange County, when they're bringing in 20 or 30 million, I forget the number, in Seminole County, it doesn't take long to get back that initial investment, and then you're working on that return on investment. So I want to stress that. I urge you just to support the Wekiva Trail and move it forward as quickly as you can through construction. I can't wait to hear the presentation. I met Melissa last week, and we had a good conversation. But I think it's important to Lake County to go ahead and get this done. We've been working on it for 20 years, and people before us have been working on it before that. So we're at a point now where we can move it forward, and I urge you to do that as quickly as possible. And that's really it. And I also urge you to consider, as we're moving this forward, I know we've done piecemeal things. We've done, state appropriations that we've got for you. We've done sales tax stuff. We've done other stuff. We've kind of, every year we're fighting for those funds to try to get these things done. But let's make a conscious effort, like other communities around us that have already done that, and make it a part of our general fund, make it a part of our investment, so that we're putting money in it every year, so we're not fighting for piecemeals here and there. So I appreciate your support of trails. I appreciate meeting with every one of you and what you've done for trails. So I encourage you to continue to move forward and push hard to get Wekiva Trail done as quickly as we can. That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Mike, you're doing a great job, too, with all your work on the state level and representing us there and just being.
I'm just trying to move the ball forward. I mean, there's people before me. There's some people in this audience before me that did this before me. So I'm just trying to help push it forward. If we can get it done and get some things done, at least for my kids or my grandkids, I'll be happy.
Well, we appreciate you. And I was thinking about, you were talking about bringing people into the downtowns, and I thought, what a great thing. They come in on a bicycle or on foot, not on a car. That might help alleviate some of our pressures we're feeling right now.
I do that all the time, riding trails. I mostly ride mountain bikes, but if I'm riding paved trails with my kids, we go to downtowns, we eat ice cream, we eat dinner, we do whatever. We're spending money every time we go there. We're stopping at bike shops. We're doing all kinds of things. So there's all kinds of studies, again, I've sent them to you before, that show how much is spent. If somebody spends a day on a trail, if they spend overnight on a trail, it just brings that much more into those communities. And again, without parking, without those kind of concerns, you're just riding a bicycle into town and spending money.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Melissa Hill is here today. She's a senior project manager. She's with the Trust for Public Lands, and she's going to give us a presentation. Melissa was there when we took our group to DC recently, along with the city of Mount Dora and Tavares, and they've been instrumental in being a catalyst on this project.
Getting organized. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. As Commissioner Chairwoman Campio noted, my name is Melissa Hill. I'm a Senior Project Manager for Trust for Public Land. And it's such a pleasure to be here to give an update to the Board of County Commissioners, staff, as well as the public on the progress that's being made on the Wekiva Trail Segment 1 and 5 acquisition. And, you know, really the goal of that is to work in partnership with Lake County, Tavares, Mount Dora, to acquire and ultimately see an 11-mile multimodal infrastructure corridor completed for this community. So I would like to give a quick reminder of who Trust for Public Land is, give some background to the longstanding planning that's been going around on this project, as well as the benefits for completing something of this nature. And then I'll share an update on our progress and some of the grant programs that we've been actively pursuing to date. Trust for Public Land is a national nonprofit. We've been around for over 50 years, and our mission is to connect everyone to the outdoors. We do that by working as a trusted acquisition partner for parks, trails, nature preserves, with partners like the federal government, state government, local governments, as well as nonprofit partners. And this model of work has led to some pretty incredible wins for public access across the country. We've completed over 5,500 projects to date across the United States. That's resulted in 4 million acres of public access, and we've also helped to generate over $111 billion of public funds across that 50-year period for local governments, for state governments to actually be able to acquire properties. Here in Florida, that looks like about 430 projects. We have completed and closed over $1 billion in fair market value transactions as that acquisition partner, and this has resulted in over 185,000 acres of publicly accessible land. And if you're like me and you say, well, that's wonderful, but what about in Lake County? Well, we've been a partner here too. We were a partner on the most recent bond referendum that passed this past November at an 80% success rate. And we also partnered on the predecessor to that, both in 2001 and 2003, both of which also passed with an overwhelming support from the public. When it comes to partnering on properties themselves, we were also the trusted acquisition partner for Ferndale Preserve, as well as Palatka Environmental Agricultural Reserve, also known as Pear Park, which the county, of course, both owns and manages both of those properties. And we were a partner on the Wildwood-Leesburg Bike Trail. Speaking of bike trails, Trust for Public Land is the national leader when it comes to acquiring rail-to-trail projects. We have completed over 48 projects to date, and that's resulted in nearly 300 miles of rail-to-trail projects across the country. And now I would really love to kind of shift focus and talk about Segment 1 and 5 and some of the planning that's been done to date. So, Segment 1 and 5 are located on this map in the B, which is orange, that Wekiva segment. You can see that this primary trail corridor is a key east to west connector in the Lake County Trails Master Plan. And as Mike noted, these trails plans have been ongoing since the early 2000s and represent a very clear and connected Lake County. Zooming in a little bit, and this is a busy map, so I'll walk you through it. You can see Segment 1 and 5. It's the dotted red line that starts in downtown Tavares, right at Lake Dora Avenue, and works its way east into Sorrento. The property itself is an inactive rail corridor that has already had project development and environmental studies completed to confirm the location of this trail network. And acquiring both of these segments would ultimately close an 11-mile gap in the existing trail network while aligning with regional and state infrastructure plans by addressing critical transportation, economic, and health challenges. This acquisition would ultimately create a 26-mile multimodal trail connecting the city of Tavares and Mount Dora's and their community redevelopment areas over into Mount Plymouth Sorrento's community redevelopment area, all the way over, then into Seminole County's Seminole-Wekiva Trail and Orange County's Coast to Coast Trail and the Heart of Florida Trail Loop. So as Mike noted, this is really connecting important areas within the county, but also extending into other areas across the state. And initial engagement with this corridor began in the early 2000s. The public overwhelmingly supported inclusion of the Wekiva corridor in the Lake Sumter Metropolitan Planning Organization's long-range transportation planning update in 2005. And it also aligns with the statewide shared use non-motorized, also known as Sun Trail Network. So cleaning up the map a little bit, this is the area that we're looking at. You can see it in that orange line, once again, working from Tavares over into Sorrento. And the footprint for this project is for acquisition of, like I said, 11 miles of corridor, and it totals approximately 110 acres. And ultimately, completing this vision of trail provides really strong benefits for the community. First and foremost is safety. Kimley Horn determined, based on bike and pedestrian crash data from 2020 to 2024, that there have been 289 pedestrian and bicycle crashes, and unfortunately, 14 of those were fatalities. Over 75% of these crashes occurred along the road as opposed to at intersections, and 100% of them happened where there was no pedestrian or bicycle facility. And you can see where those occurred within a half-mile's buffer around the Wekiva Trail segment. And these crashes are also on an upward trend, showing an increasing need for a safe, designated multimodal pathway. In terms of economic benefits by completing this type of project, it really does provide safe, affordable, and healthy transportation. Currently, there's no reliable driving alternative options for the residents of unincorporated county communities traveling into the cities of Tavares and Mount Dora. This project will improve access to daily destinations like jobs, healthcare, grocery stores, schools, churches, places of worship, recreation, and parks. And this is really important because 2 of the census blocks served by this trail are considered communities with transportation disadvantage and have rates below the national average for car ownership. This trail will also connect historic downtowns, 4 community redevelopment areas, and 3 major employment centers, which include Tavares, Mount Dora, and the Wolf Branch Innovation and Development Employment Center District. The trail also has potential to provide increased value for properties. The National Realtors Association estimates an immediate 10 to 20% increase in the value of homes when located in close proximity to trails. The trail will also provide easy additional access to businesses. Based on a mapping analysis, approximately 618 businesses are within a quarter mile of the Wekiva Trail, providing ample employment, healthcare, education, fitness, and shopping opportunities. And finally, in terms of economic benefits, the benefit cost analysis completed by Kimley Horn in 2023 for a federal grant application showed the project will improve public safety by reducing accidents, boost tourism spending, and increase property values. Overall, the substantial positive impacts from this project were monetized at $92.9 million in benefits over a 20-year period. Also, acquiring a corridor of this nature creates a multimodal transportation corridor, certainly, but it also gives infrastructure improvement possibilities for the county and the city. Those include both crossing safety enhancements and trail amenities to be installed at portions of the corridor that currently lack those safety features. It also allows for the installation of intelligent transportation system, which integrates fiber for real-time traffic management and emergency responder deployment. It also allows for high-speed Wi-Fi within the corridor to improve opportunities for local agencies and private developers to provide widespread broadband. Also, in terms of utilities, you have the opportunity to underground electric, improve water, existing systems, and wastewater transfer. And as the county well knows, based off of that most recent 1,000-year flood event, being able to mitigate for flood risk is increasingly important. Utilizing this acquisition could provide an opportunity to improve existing conveyance systems and also lessen flooding through swale installations in the corridor itself. Recreational benefits. This is a fun one. So Trust for Public Land does a 10-minute walk analysis, which calculates the number of residents that live within a 10-mile walk of a proposed park or conservation project. So TPL has analyzed that this will serve approximately 12,650 people within a 10-minute walk. So that's just only the folks who can get there by foot. And that will serve approximately 6,000 households by completing this project. Also, there was a study done in 2019 that concluded that spending as little as 2 hours a week outside has a really positive, measurable impact on mental health. And a study on the health benefits from bike pedestrian trails found that every dollar invested in trails results in $3 of saving on healthcare costs, showing that trails are a cost-effective health intervention tool. Also, the Florida Statewide Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan has found that trails are a top recreational amenity, and Central Florida has the second highest regional concentration of potential tourists in the state for this type of amenity. thank you for listening to those benefits, to understanding the work that's been done. I know you all, staff, many people before you have been working hard on seeing this plan to come to fruition. So I just wanted to take the time to highlight some of that and the benefits of this project. It's truly a compliment to the leadership and vision of county staff and partners on the effort that's been put in place to date. Now, the purpose of my real update: what progress has Trust for Public Land made? And what progress is being made in working to acquire the corridor in partnership with Lake County, Tavares, and Mount Dora? In late 2024, Trust for Public Land, Mount Dora, Tavares, and Lake County entered into a memorandum of understanding to outline how we would partner together, work together through pre-acquisition efforts, and ultimately seek to acquire this rail corridor. Since then, we've been working closely with partners on pursuing public funding opportunities and to negotiate an option agreement between Trust for Public Land and the owner of the rail corridor, which is CSX Transportation, Inc., and their leaseholder, Florida Central Railroad. I'm pleased to share that TPL has successfully negotiated an option contract, which is currently being routed for signatures. By Trust for Public Land entering into the contract directly with CSX and Florida Central Railroad, partners are not obligating themselves to the purchase until they are able to have funds secured. This model helps alleviate risk to our partners, the county, Tavares, and Mount Dora, while simultaneously allowing for the pursuit of grants and local funding with a strong timeline and cost for budgets. TPL has negotiated an option term of 24 months, meaning that we would ultimately look to convey to the county by early 2028 at the latest. At this time, the anticipated purchase price for the corridor to be conveyed is $27 million. The price to acquire will need to be supported by 2 appraisals, of course, before closing on the property. And before diving into potential funding sources, I would just like to make it very clear that this is the cost for acquisition of the corridor. It's not for the cost of the installation of trail or for any of those infrastructure amenities that I discussed earlier. Now, on to the funding strategy. The first grant that I would like to highlight is a Federal Department of Transportation BUILD grant, which stands for Better Utilizing Investments to Leverage Development. This is not the first application that the county has made to this program. Lake County, Tavares, and Mount Dora actually applied last year for this grant in partnership with Kimley Horn, and we put forward a request for fiscal year 25 in a round 2 proposal. There were exactly 815 applicants. Of those, there were only 30 selected for funding. However, this project met the criteria so well that we were moved onto what is known as a project of merit list. This means that the project scored high in all of the categories needed for build, and it also made it to the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy's desk. This means that we are well poised for this year's application. This year, there's $1.5 billion available to compete for, and the grant allows for a maximum request of $25 million, which the county and partners are poised to ask for that amount and mirror last year's application, which had more than a 1-to-1 match, part of why we scored so well last year. Currently, we expect for the budget to have within that $25 million total, $16 million being requested for acquisition in particular. You can see, based on the timeline, it's due the end of February, so we are all very busy working together on that grant application. Between March and May, they will review and score, and then we will know by the end of June who has been successful for this year's BUILD grant application. The second grant that I would like to highlight is a state-based funded program called Florida Communities Trust, also known as FCT. Lake County is also no stranger to this funding source. You have had multiple successful applications for this, for acquisition funds in the past. And this fiscal year, 25 to 26, there is a total of $6.8 million available for Florida Communities Trust grant. The board approved the transmittal letter for the application this past December, and Trust for Public Land authored the application and exhibit resources in partnership with county staff, Tavares, and Mount Dora. We've put together a strong application, and we submitted the grant last Friday in advance of the January 19th deadline. The funds we requested total $3.5 million to be put towards acquisition. As you can see on this timeline, starting now through March, each application will be scored and staff will visit each site. In April, we will have a tentative score awarded to us. And then in May, the FCT governing board will rank and approve with formal award announcements coming out in June. The additional program that TPL has nominated the property for is the Lake County's bond referendum program. TPL nominated this project on December 15th of last year. The project has been submitted to the Public Lands and Trails Acquisition Advisory Committee, which I will refer to as PLA TAC from here on out. So it has gone for their review and for the county staff's ranking. The PL TAC is established to advise in the implementation of the land acquisition tasks under the bond referendum and as prescribed by the Parks and Trails Master Plan. So my understanding for the workflow on this is that once it's ranked by staff, it will then come to the Board of County Commissioners for your consideration. The bond referendum program itself has $50 million available with a direction from the PLA TAC from the ordinance to work to recommend spending policies that generally achieve a project 50-50 split between natural passive use lands and trails used for connectivity. My understanding is that the meeting for the PLA TAC, the next one, is scheduled for April. So, by this summer, we will know what the success of our Build Grant application is, as well as our Florida Communities Trust Grant application. I would love to come back in the summertime and provide an update in terms of the funding amounts that we've requested, what we've been awarded, and what gap remains, so you all can have thoughtful discussion and consideration on the best way to proceed as partners. With that, I would be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, does anybody have questions? Great presentation, really thorough. Appreciate all your hard work and dedication to this effort, as well as our partners, Mount Dora and Tavares. And yeah, we'll just cross our fingers. And I know a lot of us are trying to do some legwork, continuing to work with our Congress people and our our U.S. senators. We had great meetings with them. We've done a lot of follow-up with them. We're hoping that they will help us draw attention to this with Secretary Duffy. So we'll just keep working hard on it.
Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to get to partner with county staff and with you all and with Tavares and Mount Dora. It's really impressive what you've all accomplished to date.
Thank you. Thanks. All right. Okay, so we're moving on now to tab 17. This is with regard to the Silver Glen Springs Run noise-sensitive zone ordinance, and I'll call on the county attorney.
This will be an ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners of Lake County, Florida, renumbering Section 3-5 Lake County Code entitled Silver Glen Springs Run to Section 5-4 Lake County Code, amending the section to designate Silver Glen Springs Run as a noise-sensitive zone, providing for enforcement, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for filing with Department of State, and providing for an effective date. If you choose to approve this today, it'll become ordinance 2026-3.
Okay, all right. So this is a public hearing, and so we're going to open it up. Did we have anyone online that's weighed in or called in? Anyone in the public who wishes to speak on this particular item? Okay, I see that we do have Major Meisinger, and I'm going to get my rank right on Matt Farmer, right? Is that okay? All right. Captain Farner.
Move
Okay.
to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, and just before we,
Now we're in discussion.
as we go into discussion, I just want to say thank you to the Sheriff's Department and Marine Patrol and the hard work that you put into this, the outreach to Marion County. We're really thankful to our partners in Marion County as well for adopting this identical ordinance first, since we both sort of share this area. One thing I don't know if the rest of the board knows is that the Forestry Service has put in again for consideration by FWC in the state of Florida to set this area up as a spring protection zone, kind of what we went through last year, but now we have a new statute in place that governs the criteria on that. So we'll probably be having more discussions in the future about taking a position on that and being involved in that discussion. Along the same lines, I've reached out to Senator True now about the possibility of working with forestry service FWC, Marion County, and Lake County to potentially have a restroom facility that could be used by boaters in the Silver Glen area in order to address a very obvious problem, since the existing park that's there is really only for people who arrive by land, not for boaters. So he's indicated support for that. We just have to kind of start working on the details at this point. But this is a step in the right direction as far as the promises that we made to the state last year when the spring protection zone came up, that we would do whatever we could on a local basis to try to tamp down on behavior that was really inconsistent with the natural surroundings and the protection of that area. And the noise issue had become such a problem that it just seemed to all sort of wrap together with bad behavior and a lack of appreciation for protecting that really important natural resource. So I'm just super pleased to have this opportunity for this to be before us and to be moving forward, hopefully, with adoption of this ordinance, and then working in partnership with Sheriff's Department and Marine Patrol on the implementation phase, which I'm sure will be fun. It's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be well worth it, I believe. So we do have a motion second. Any further comment or discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to say, I think that your work with the state on making it where the boaters can also access the Glen property itself on land for the restrooms and for the picnic tables would be enormously helpful in the cleanup of the whole area. So, and thank you to the Sheriff's Department for all the work you've done out there.
I was going to mention too, there's a really great video. I'm going to send it through the county manager's office to everyone that Water Management District put together on the St. Johns River. About 22 minutes into the video, there's a whole section that's on Silver Glen Springs, and divers go down into the springs and they go way, way down through all these cracks and crevices. And I don't know how they do that, but I mean, it's incredible. The current is so strong, and they're having to mark where they're at so they make sure they can get back out. But they've been in springs all over the state of Florida, and they noted that of all of the springs in the state of Florida, this is by far the most magnificent. It's got so many valuable features, and it's just very unique with a lot of the different characteristics that go along with Silver Glen Springs. So yeah, this is an exciting time, I think, in Lake County, be taking a step in the right direction. Any further comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimously. So thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you and what you do. All right. Thank you. Okay, moving ahead to tab 18, was everybody okay if we just take like a 5-10 minute break before we move into the next part? Okay, so about 5 to 10 minutes. We'll be seated by 10 minutes from now.
Commissioners, this meeting is being
We're back. On to tab 18. Miranda?
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Miranda Lanou, Budget Manager with the Office of Management and Budget.
Welcome.
The purpose of today's presentation is to hold a public hearing for the mid-year budget amendment. First, I will provide an overview of the mid-year budget amendment process. Next, I will discuss the general fund reserves. I will also outline a summary of changes to the fiscal year 26 budget, and finally, present the requested action. The purpose of the mid-year budget amendment is to make adjustments to the fiscal year 26 budget, to add previously unanticipated revenues and expenditures, and to include any necessary changes that have been identified. The current countywide budget, which includes previously approved unanticipated revenue resolutions, is $1.068 billion. The proposed changes to today are $47.9 million, which will bring the supplemental budget to $1.16 billion. The total mid-year adjustment for the general fund revenues are approximately $22 million. They include a decrease of $197,000 in ad valorem revenue due to the adjustment for the final property values as of October 1st, which include value adjustment board adjustments. An adjustment for changes to the beginning fund balance of $20.5 million, attributed to additional revenues received and cost savings over projected spending in fiscal year 25, $1 million in grant award reconciliations, and $460,000 for the Kroger termination agreement. Adjustments to the general fund for expenditures are a reduction of $1.1 million to CRA payments due to final property values as of October 1st, including any value adjustment board adjustments. The following are adjustments impacting the constitutional offices. For the sheriff, there is a $566,000 adjustment for service agreements and capital equipment. For the clerk, there is a $161,000 adjustment for network cabling and fiber installation. For the supervisor of elections, there is a $635,000 adjustment for leasehold improvements. There is an increase in $1.7 million in anticipated inmate medical cost. There is an increase of $4.4 million in transfers to other funds, including $3.4 million for opioid settlement funds that were received in fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24 to the drug court reserves, and $979,000 to support the employee health fund. A $14.6 million increase to reserves, which includes an increase to road resurfacing reserves of approximately $1.4 million, and $793,000 in other miscellaneous adjustments, including approximately $234,000 for wage adjustments, including final rates provided by the state for FRS and elected officials and overtime estimates, $355,000 for an increase in anticipated planning and zoning professional services, and $169,000 for laser gray sky funding due to the October 2025 flooding. The current adopted general fund operating reserves are $25.3 million, representing 9.5% of the operating budget. The $3.4 million decrease from the adopted budget represents the use of the resurfacing reserves for resurfacing projects since the budget's initial adoption. After approval of the mid-year adjustment, the total general fund operating reserves will be $41.5 million, which represents 15.4% of the operating budget. The long-range target for reserves is 16%, or 2 months of regular operating expenses, which is the recommended minimum by the Government Finance Officers Association for counties. The total adjustments to other funds are approximately $26.1 million. $5.3 million of this is in grant reconciliation adjustments. Approximately $17.4 million in beginning fund balance adjustments for revenues that exceeded actual expenditures over what was projected for fiscal year 25. Major adjustments here were included in the transportation fund of approximately $2.4 million, EMS fund of $3.5 million, county fire fund of $8.2 million, and the resort development tax fund of $2.2 million. Under capital projects, there was an increase to infrastructure sales tax revenues over projections, which resulted in additional funding that has been allocated for the North Wing Judicial Center roof replacement project, the Butler Street Boat Ramp Parking Lot Improvement Project, the Britt Road Construction and Construction Inspection Agreement, and the purchase of additional ambulances, and approximately $990,000 other adjustments that were primarily related to the final property value adjustments and rebudgeting of the Eudora Road Roundabout Utility Relocation Project. I will now turn it over to the chairman to open the public hearing.
All right, we're going to open this to the public. Do we have anyone here that wishes to discuss these budget adjustments? Anyone online? All right, we'll bring it back to the board. Okay, any questions?
Second, and I would like to say thank you for concentrating on reserves.
For the record, the requested action is approval of an amended budget for fiscal year 2026 to include a reconciliation of beginning fund balance and other adjustments, and the approval of the resolution adopting a supplemental budget of $1,115,630,621 for fiscal year 2026.
All right. That was incorporated in your motion. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, and I thought it was interesting too. So we've already begun using the money for resurfacing. So we had to make that adjustment. That's good news.
That's good news.
All right.
We added an additional 1.4 towards new resurfacing.
New
projects.
resurfacing. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, great. That passes 4-0. Appreciate that. Now moving on to tab 19. This is Jeff Earhart on, what, did you?
Good morning, Jeff Earhart with Public Works. We're here to talk about vacation today. This is vacation 1309. It's related to the Dora Pines area, which we've seen some in this area before. It's being brought forth by the Malcolms. It's east of 441 near the Mount Dora area in Commission District 4. The proposed vacation, it's north of Limit, west of Britt, and east of 441. As we zoom in a little bit closer, it is to make these lots buildable. It's removing the cul-de-sac, sidewalk, and driveway easements that are part of the historic plat. With that, I'll open the public hearing.
All right, do we have anyone online on this one? No, we have no cards. So we'll bring it back to the board. We've done several of these before.
In this area.
Move to approve.
And
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0. Moving ahead to tab 20.
Tab 20, Jeff Earhart, Public Works. This is another vacation related to Manor Oaks up in the Leesburg area. It is being brought forth by Meritage Homes. The vacation is, it's a development within the city limits of Leesburg. It's east of 33, Commission District 3. It's part of the Manor Oaks subdivision, is north of Manor Oaks Court and west of US 27 and east of 33. Got a couple graphics here that kind of zoom in a little bit closer. The existing, basically we're talking about an existing ditch or canal. You can see the red is where it currently flows. Then it flows north through other property where we have an easement that's in blue, and then it continues up through Arlington Court and out towards the lake. So that's where it currently flows. You can see in green here, the green would be to relocate that triangle canal. I mean, the hypotenuse of the triangle. There we go, nice word there. And then do the two perpendiculars in green in order to go around the site. The purpose is primarily to make the property more conducive to the developer's subdivision that they're developing. Just kind of want to focus on that there are some floodplains in the area. You can see that the existing canal does go through the floodplain, and there's also a floodplain in the middle of their site that they are maintaining. Kind of showing it all together in one place. Once again, you can see where it flows. It will flow north. It will go through the property that we have an easement over, and then it flows through Arlington and out towards the lake. the request is to vacate what's in red, and then they will dedicate what's in green, where they will construct a new drainage canal. Wouldn't be an engineer without showing you some nice plans. So here you can see the pond that they're constructing. You can see in the middle, there's that shaded area in the middle of the pond. That's where the existing drainage ditch is. They'll be building a pond in that location, and they'll be building a ditch that goes around the perimeter of it. We have added some riprap at the corners of that in order to make sure that erosion doesn't, try to limit the erosion as much as we can. As part of this, we did ask the developer to go, this is the property to the north that we have an easement on. The developer did go out and they helped clear some of this because there was some blockages for some storm drainage, and we worked with the city of Leesburg in order to have them clear some of this property that's not on their property, but it helps our drainage system. They also went further and actually got permission and worked with Arlington in order to clear some of the blockages that were in their area as well, to hopefully, it took a very long time to drain after Milton, so this should hopefully clear that up. Just wanted to kind of show you the plat that they are putting they're doing subdivision with houses in this particular area. Zooming in on the area where the pond is. And there is also, in addition to the vacation that's being requested, there is a development agreement to go along with this. Basically, we're requiring the developer will retain a right-of-way use permit in order to construct the new ditch. They will also require to dedicate that new ditch right-of-way, that green area, they're required to dedicate that. There also will be providing a perpetual maintenance of the ditch. So the ditch will be maintained by them in perpetuity. In addition, we're asking them to indemnify the county for 20 years, that while we believe that this will give the same level of flood protection as the existing ditch does, we did want to put the onus on the developer that if something did go wrong in the next 20 years, that they would be responsible. We did request that in perpetuity. The developer requested that we limit it to 20 years. And in 20 years, we'll be able to see whether it's working or not. So with that, I'll open it up for the public hearing and with any questions.
All right, do we have anyone online? We have no cards. What's up? Has anyone had, it's a legislative act, but if you've had any ex parte discussions you want to disclose? Okay.
No. Meritage is here if you want to.
All right. Dan?
My only concern is that I want to make sure that the residents know that they have this easement in there and they're responsible for it. So would that be in their contract?
Well, it would be on the plat, and it would be in the HOA documents that they're responsible for ongoing maintenance of any stormwater facilities that are on that plat. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, that is correct. And for the record, my name is Dan O'Keefe with Schutz and Bowen. I'm here on behalf of Meritage Homes. My address is 300 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida 32801. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. And yeah, that will be in the HOA documents and on the plat. And just a couple of points. So right now, the ditch really is insufficient and overflows the water onto the adjacent property. The realigned easement is engineered to do better and to accommodate all of that water and for a 100-year storm event. Also, Meritage has agreed to off-site swale improvements to help the whole system function better. So I think as part of this, the whole system is going to function better, as they mentioned, with them clearing off, or helping to clear the easement downstream, and the county is protected and indemnified. I think if anything's going to go wrong with the realigned easement, 20 years, certainly they're going to know if there's a problem, and Meritage and the HOA are fully responsible for that. We have our engineer here and representatives from Meritage to answer any questions or concerns you might have.
It looks like on the map that we'd seen before, the design, that there's a stormwater drainage, like actual pond, retention pond down there in that area.
Correct. And then the realigned easement would go just outside of that.
So, if there was some sort of problem, it's going to be arguably isolated to that area as opposed to in somebody's backyard.
Yeah, this should be an improvement to the overall system, and our engineers are confident that they're fixing and improving the situation.
Well, that's what we like to hear, fixing a problem, coming up with a solution. And I agree, 20 years, that's good. If anything's going to go wrong, we're going to know it within that period of time, I would think. So, any other questions?
Yeah, I have several questions and concerns, and one of the questions I brought up during my meeting was, our drainage goes right through the middle of their pond. I don't know why they just don't increase the pond size to take over the excess water. That's number one. I'm going to ask all my questions first, and then you can answer them however you want to answer them. Number two, I guess this is for Melanie or the developer. You gave us 20 years. Is there a bond included with that? And why is this not in perpetuity? Because we've had properties that have had some changes done to it and longer than 20 years ago, and now we're having issues today. Wolf Branch is a good example of that. So I would like to see that this agreement be in perpetuity for the county, to indemnify the county in perpetuity. And third, I understand that once the developer is finished, it's going to move back over into the HOA agreement. What happens if the HOA disbands? Then what happens to the agreement? Or what happens if there is a bond, there should be a bond? What happens to that? If I can get those answers, it would be helpful. I understand that this is a natural flowway, and thank you very much for the work that you have done to clean up the ditch. I know it wasn't your responsibility, and you've done that. So that has also, I just want to say thank you very much for that, because it's going to help the overall scheme of the water flow in this area. But if we can get those three questions answered, I would certainly appreciate it.
Lee Suswit, Meritage Homes. I live at 1114 Country Club Road, Eustis, Florida. So first off, thank you for hearing us out. The first one is why we couldn't combine them. So the drainage ditch was a conveyance swale. So through St. John's, we have to keep it separate. We have on-site retention and then conveyance for the natural flow of the water going through. So you wouldn't be able to account for that capacity in our pond on-site regardless. They would have to stay separate totally. And then we kept the central wetland area. We wanted to keep that natural and preserved. So we avoided that area to keep it natural to help for preserving the wetlands overall, which I know is important for everyone. And so we thought shifting the conveyance swale around the pond was the best use of the property, one of the lowest lying areas, which is where we want to put your stormwater. So that's how we designed it, to try to get the amount of lots we could. We started 141, we went down limiting because of the drainage and the central wetland, so we ended up at 113. So originally did lose lots, and this is where we landed, and feel improving off sites is going to help everyone in the long run.
So that was why not the bond, and then you want to talk about the 20 years versus perpetuity?
Yeah, so we kind of thought this might come up regardless, so we do have the okay to go ahead and we can do it in perpetuity if that's one of the linchpins here. We came up with 20 years as a negotiation because we didn't want to hold it up forever, but if it's what it takes to get it done, then I have the approval to do that, so we can. And then the bond is something that's required to stay in place with the HOA or Meritage. That'll carry over. And then it's something we had said we could put up the reserve to cover it for them if needed, so the money's there to cover the bond regardless for the years.
So just looking at the agreement doesn't actually require a bond that I see. It requires insurance. Right, so they have to maintain $1 million insurance policy for the term of the agreement. If we change that to in perpetuity, they'd have to maintain it. To respond to your question, if the HOA becomes inactive, we have no mechanism in order to go back against them if there was a failure of this drainage system. This development is in the city limits of Eustis, so we can't levy an MSBU Leesburg, without Leesburg's permission to allow us to do that. So that is a risk that we do take. My understanding is that Meritage is going to turn it over once it's built out like they do with their other subdivisions, and they would assign this agreement to the HOA, and then they would no longer be responsible for it.
But I will also note, thank you, Melanie. I will also note that the HOA is going to own the common tracks in the community. They're going to have the $1 million of insurance. And right now, the county pays for the maintenance of the ditch that's not functioning as intended. And so it might not be 100% perfect, but it's a lot better than what exists today with, in our assessment.
Okay, I think you answered some of my major questions, as if you're willing to put this in perpetuity, and then there's going to be $1 million insurance on it.
Yes, Commissioner.
With, how do we make those changes to make sure it happens?
So you would include it in your motion, and then before the document is signed, we'll have them re-sign a corrected document and then process all of them for signature on our side.
So go back to those conditions, if you could, on the map.
Are you doing the 100-year floodplain, or?
Yeah, it's designed for the 100-year. Yes, sir.
No, you're not planning for the 1,000-year flood? 1 in 1,000?
I have a question.
Uh-huh, yeah.
All right, so everything I've heard sounds good. Looks like you've got a lot of the details worked out, possibly with this issue of being in perpetuity. And, in theory, the longer the water's running, actually the better it is. You're, adding the little curve, which lengthens the distance, and that's better for water flow and flood protection, so I get all that. But maybe more of just a process question of how did you get to the point where the lot layout, though, was done first before you've got to this decision? Because that, and I'm sure I sound a little negative here, but it seems a little backwards.
Right, so we had been in conversation through the entirety of the project. We had an on-site permit originally approved to shift it around, and then we went through the process of vacation dedication after that. But it's been in the conversation the entirety of the project of how to handle the drainage and to help off-site and on-site function better. So I understand this is coming later, fully agree. Just, it's been a conversation the entirety of the time. It's been over a year. Finalizing everything.
I'd also add, I think a little bit of it, Commissioner, was because it's not a county project, it's a city project, and this one piece of it was the county, and, we, quite honestly, we could have coordinated better than we did, but that's why we're here today.
Yeah, I know. It's, and again, it sounds like we got a lot of it worked out, but, and far be it for me to tell you how to do business, but when you have a lot expectation, you're trying to get a certain number of lots, and that could change, and it's changed, obviously, here. It's,
It seems a little.
It's not the best process.
Timing was not coordinated very well,
Yeah.
and we would live and learn and try to get better.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to make a motion that we approve with the changes of the development will take on the responsibility of this easement in perpetuity with a guarantee of $1 million insurance required.
And that would include indemnification.
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that passes 4-0 with those modifications.
And Madam Chairman, if I can just clarify, that is with the agreement currently being assignable to the HOA? The board's, okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving now
Melanie,
to,
can I confirm that was the vacation and the developer's agreement that was?
Correct.
all right, so now we're moving to tab 20. Oops, I'm sorry, did I just jump over? That's what we were just doing. Okay, 21. And I'm going to call on Melanie.
All right, so this is a follow-up to the joint meeting that you had with the city of Mount Dora. This is regarding the litigation we have for the Mount Dora Northeast CRA expansion that's currently pending with the court, but it's in abatement because we were going through the intergovernmental dispute resolution process. So at your last meeting held in December, Mount Dora had requested that the county make the next offer And allowed about 45 days for us to do that before we go into what would be considered a formal mediation process. I think the two boards are close with having a couple of various concerns. So in the interest of offering options to Mount Dora, what I have before you today are two proposals. My recommendation would be that you approve both and send them both to Mount Dora and let Mount Dora choose if one of those would work for them. The first proposal would be that we would split the incremental revenue for the expansion property only at a 55-45 split, 55 to the city of Mount Dora, 45 to Lake County. And then that document would include language that would commit the county to taking its 45% of the incremental revenues and using it for transportation improvements in and immediately adjacent to the CRA boundary. The second proposal would be a slightly different shift in the percentages so that the expansion property, the incremental revenues for expansion property would be 60% to the city of Mount Dora, 40% to Lake County, but Lake County would request that the city of Mount Dora take over certain identified roads that are within the city proper. One of the segments would be from Highland Street, First Street from Highland over to just shy of the 441 intersection. There's two segments of Fifth Avenue that are still county maintained that we would ask the city of Mount Dora to take. We would ask them to take Limit Avenue as well, since the county has already invested a significant amount of money in making improvements to that road, including the addition of the roundabout to help that traffic flow through that area easier. And then we would also ask that they take Highland Street from Fifth to the Orange Lake County line. We do have maps that we can pull up if you want to see those maps. But again, they're two slightly different percentages, slightly different proposals. You can approve one, both, none, if that's your preference, for us to at least communicate something over to the city of Mount Dora. And then that way they will have an approved document that they can choose from or not choose to accept at that time. So on your screen, this is, these are the segments. So this is Highland Street from Fifth Avenue to the county line, that's still county maintained. Then we have Fifth Avenue from Alexander to McDonald. And then we have Fifth Avenue from Tremaine to Highland. This is East First Avenue to Pinecrest from Highland. And then, of course, all of Limit Avenue between 441 and Donnelly Street. And again, those would be what we would ask them to take ownership, maintenance, and jurisdiction of in exchange for the county accepting 40% and the city keeping 60% of the incremental revenues of the expansion property.
I think it's a very creative approach to offer the two options, and they can look over and decide what works best for them.
And in addition, just to clarify, Jennifer just reminded me, in addition to the split on the expansion property, the city of Mount Dora has consistently agreed that they would give us back 100% of the EMS incremental revenues that they receive for the entire CRA area, including the expansion property. So that's also written into these agreements.
And do you feel it's pretty clear the 40, if they were to go with the 45-55, when we use the phrase transportation improvements in and around the CRA area, that would, it doesn't say immediately adjacent, right? I mean, I think in and around, it should be loose enough.
So the current language for that proposal says that Lake County hereby agrees to the extent possible and where warranted to use its share of the retained incremental general fund revenues for intersection improvements, sidewalks, and stormwater management associated with county-owned and maintained roads within, near, or adjacent to the redevelopment area, including but not limited to State Road 44, also known as 44B, and US 441.
Perfect. So I think either one is a good, if they pick either, I think it's a good resolution. And it is a resolution. It's not perfect. Perfect would be that the CRA doesn't occur. Right. I mean, that's how it should have been. It should have never been included, and that would be the ideal scenario, but we've been told that there is case law that says that a city is a legislative decision, and if discretionary, and if they think it's blighted, then the court, to a certain degree, might agree. We don't know if a court would agree or not, but we're kind of rolling the dice if we move forward, and as would they. So they may not accept either one of them, but I think this could be a decent resolution.
You need a motion?
We do. I was just hoping that Commissioner Smith would make the motion.
He's going to make it?
He said he's not making the motion, and I have to say, my preference is to not approve either one, is to stick with where we've been. That's my preference. But in the essence of saving attorney's fees and time, and, you know, putting this to rest, and the city of Mount Dora has its hands full right now with a lot of issues with Donnelly Street and drainage and so forth. I'd like to just get it resolved and consider it a compromise in the best interest of intergovernmental coordination and cooperation.
And that is why, for that rationale, I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second. I don't like lawsuits.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
And we may be back here again if they don't accept either one of them, but.
And just to clarify, that motion is to send both proposals over and let them choose. Perfect, thank you.
All right, moving along then to tab 22. Jeff, this is vacation petition 1310.
Good morning, Jeff Earhart with Public Works. I guess just to clarify, this is not a public hearing. This is some information to share with you. This one's a little bit different than some of the other ones. This is a request to advertise, and we wanted to bring it to you. Normally, this just goes through on a consent item, but we're recommending that staff is recommending the denial. We'll be able to come to an agreement with the developer, which is related to the Baileys, Esquire, Brett Jones, and some others associated here. This is located in Commission District 1, south and west of Monte Vista Road. Zoom in a little bit closer. It is located north of Pine Island Road. It's south and west of Monte Vista and east of East Red Wing Road. The area, the line in red is the proposed vacation area. And I put the inset to the right, or that zoomed in area. Essentially, the county is just requesting that they provide us 33 feet from East Red Wing, and currently they only want to provide 25 feet. So basically, we're talking about an 8-foot difference in what we're requesting and what the developer is wanting to provide. The county is open to vacating the area to the west in the red. That's about 1,275 feet. So the area so the majority of it we're okay vacating. It's just additional 8 feet. And the reason that is because the road requires 33 feet from center line, and we're looking into the future that we want to make sure we maintain the appropriate right-of-way. When the developments to the north or the south come in, they would have to give that 33 feet as well. Currently, it only has 25 feet, but they would be required to give the 33. So the concept is we didn't want to give away something that we already own that we're going to need, and we didn't want to have to buy it back in the future if something happened. So I hope that makes sense. I can go over it again if it doesn't. This is I guess, Melanie, I'm not 100% sure. So the vacation petition filed is to vacate all but 25 feet of right-of-way from the center line of East Red Wing. Public Works staff is recommending denial, as staff wants to retain 33 feet of right-of-way from the center line of East Red Wing Road to meet current roadway classification. The applicant does not agree with staff's recommendation of preserving the 33 feet and is still requesting to proceed with their application, with Lake County keeping only 25 feet of right-of-way. Therefore, the resolution is based on the applicant's request to continue in spite of the recommended denial. So in other words, we would generally not bring something to you if we don't have an agreement, but we're required to bring these. And I guess Jennifer, or I'm not sure, are we requesting denial based on we aren't going to advertise it, or are we requesting denial just because we can at this moment?
If the board denies the request to advertise, that would close out the vacation petition. No further action would be taken. The right-of-way would remain under the county's control. If you choose to move it forward to public hearing, you have the option of moving it forward as the applicant has requested, with the county only reserving 25 feet of right-of-way, or you could move it forward to public hearing with the county's request of retaining 33 feet, and at which point you could go to the public hearing and then move forward with vacating all but either the 25 or 33 feet, depending on how you wish to proceed.
And the representative is here, but I can answer any questions.
Just a clarification on the process, then. We could table, there's a decision you're asking for today, correct?
No, the decision being asked for today is
advertise.
is to deny it for advertising, which then closes the petition, and the process is over.
Right, but if you tabled that decision to deny it today, is there more time?
Table it to when? The applicant does not want to give the 33 feet, is our understanding from dealing.
All right, well, I guess we'll hear from the applicant.
Yes.
Okay.
Before the applicant comes up, can I ask a question? I'm just kind of wondering how this conversation even happened. So we have an easement that goes up to the hard road currently, and the applicant would like for us to vacate that easement. We already own, or we already have access to the easement, correct? So why don't we just say, okay, from this point to this point you can have, we're retaining from that point to the road? I don't get it. I don't get how this even is plausible that someone, hey, I want you to give me an easement free and clear, and then, but I'm going to dictate 8 feet. Something just off here, and I can't understand what's off.
Is the question the 8 feet of?
I would agree. I don't understand the developer's reluctance to provide the 8 feet when we're willing to vacate the 1,200 feet to the west. I would agree. I don't understand. We don't understand it as well.
And just for background purposes.
So he's got a fence currently all the way down, even across this easement at 25 feet, right? So maybe it's that he doesn't want to have to move his fence. Is there some way that we can make an agreement, say, okay, you don't have to do anything that is planned until the county has a use for it, and then at that point, you've got to move it? Is that possible?
That could be included in the vacation petition.
Then I don't see, I'm just, something's not clicking here for me.
And just for background purposes, for the record as well, this is Groveland Farms. So this was platted in 1911. So this has been a publicly dedicated easement since 1911.
And the applicant owns a bunch of land across it, and he knew that this easement was here. He knew it went to the road. He wants us to vacate this easement, which I'm fine with, but then dictating that, oh, no, you can only go 25 feet from, something just doesn't make sense. Maybe you can help me.
Hi, my name is Madeline Damon. I'm the attorney for the property owners who initiated this vacation. My address is 700 Almond Street, Claremont, Florida, 34711. The property owners are seeking to vacate that public right-of-way, as you can see on your screens, which currently serves no practical purpose. East Red Wing Road currently has a 25-foot right-of-way as recorded in public records, and that is also evidence on the sketch of legal description that we had a surveyor prepare. The county is requesting that the property owners dedicate the additional 8 feet as a condition of the vacation, effectively transferring a portion of their property to the county without just compensation. And I'll explain this further. So the county has indicated that the property owners refuse to dedicate this additional right-of-way, being the basis for denial. In discussions with the county, the purpose of this request is also to come in line with the roadway classifications. However, they provided that as a policy matter in the interest of conserving taxpayer dollars, we would not want to vacate public right-of-way and then have to turn around and buy it back to improve a public road. So in other words, the county is seeking to acquire that right-of-way now to avoid compensating the property owner, all property owners in that case, along East Red Wing Road, should they ever wish to improve that right-of-way. However, we would like to note that East Red Wing Road and the surrounding property is entirely within the Green Swamp area of critical state concern, making future improvements to this right-of-way highly unlikely, and there's also no current plans to improve that road at the present. So providing that additional 8 feet of right-of-way would also create an inconsistency along East Red Wing Road, because as you can see on the screen in blue, the entirety of that right-of-way is 25 feet, so the only portion of that road would be where the proposed vacation is. That would be the only area where that additional 8 feet would exist. So the county would still need to obtain that additional 8 feet from all of the property owners along East Red Wing, both on the east and the west. And lastly, I would like to emphasize, this is just approval to advertise, so the commission doesn't need to come to a decision today. As for the vacation, we would respectfully request the approval to advertise, and we can plead our case further at public hearing.
Okay, I got a couple questions on your statement. Do you mind
And the property owner is also here.
if I ask
Sure.
follow-up questions? So you said something about that the property owner, that we're asking the property owner to give up 8 feet of his property.
That was a,
We're not asking him to give up 8 feet of his property.
correct. So that would be,
We're asking him, we're telling him that we're going to stop it 8 feet short of where he would like to go.
correct.
Okay? I mean, we're just going to stop it 8 feet short. He owns he owns the rest of that 8 feet on both sides, correct?
Not on the western side, though.
No, on the both sides, on the north side and the south side of the easement, currently, he owns all that land. This is
Correct. So there's
currently his.
In the map here, the owners are the Bradley Bailey to the north and Jason Bailey to the south. So it's not,
Across the street, there is also where we vacated an easement, and I'm understanding that on that vacation of the easement, we required 33 feet from the right-of-way. Is that correct?
That's what I was told by Public Works, yes.
So it's consistent from what we've done just to the west, if this map is actually facing north and south, just to the west of his easement is completely consistent. Again, I don't understand it. If there's currently a fence there, which I believe there is, because I looked, I couldn't quite tell where this was, but I looked, and he wants to keep his fence there, which I get. We'll just have him sign an agreement with the county that he can use that property up until the time the county needs it for roadway improvement or stormwater improvement. Easy done.
our position is that because this road is in the Green Swamp.
So it's either all or nothing. Is that your position?
That's the property owner's position. I can let the property owner speak.
I certainly would like to hear from the property, because we're giving up, I don't know, 2,500 square feet for 200 square feet?
Yes, sir.
Doesn't make any sense.
If,
Commissioners, how are you doing?
Good.
This is part of a 100-acre farm, cattle farm. And I think what has complicated is I tried to get this done earlier when it would have been a lot simpler. but I've given the two sons, I've given them 30 acres, and that 30 acres is part of that, and I wanted to clear that. And they also, I reckon it's originally, that whole road just about on both sides, I gave the 50 foot to do the road initially. And I don't know, I reckon they don't want to give it up. And that's the reason I'd like for you to at least approve the hearing, and we'll try working it out, because I think there's still questions as to why we're giving the land up this early when I don't know when it's going to, is the road on any kind of 1 year, 5 year, 10 year? I think it's going to be I don't know if it will ever be widened other than what it is right now.
So let me just ask, there might be a little confusion. Do you realize that the only part that the county is asking to be is just within that easement that you're asking to be
Yes,
vacated? So it's
yes.
not the whole.
It's not the
length
whole
of your
thing, because
property?
I own probably, at least probably 3/4 mile of that road. And if you include the whole road all the way over to 33, is only probably a couple of miles. So I own a big portion, and I reckon, I'm just curious what's planned for that area. I don't want to give up anything when it will help me.
I think what Commissioner Smith is getting at is that the vacation is discretionary. It's owned by the public, basically, the easement that's
Right.
there now. It encumbers your property. And so from the public's interest, and we have to sit here and look at the public's interest, if we were just to give that up, I think the argument is that it's in the public's interest for us to at least keep the part that we may need one day if that road ever has to be widened. That, nobody's trying to take any more on the north or the south, just right in that area. Otherwise, from the public standpoint, it would make more sense just to leave the easement in place, because then we know we've got at least that part of the road in public ownership.
Okay.
So you keep saying your property, but this is an easement. This is actually the public.
Right, yeah,
And that's all we're trying to do is get 8 feet of the 25 feet, and then give you the rest.
Okay. I think if we could do the advertisement, I'll work with my sons and see if we can't take care of it, okay?
So why don't we move forward? Why don't we advertise for the vacation? And everybody's full disclosure that if we get to the next meeting and we don't have the votes, then we don't have the votes and it dies.
And I can tell you
Nothing
that I'm
happens. I
not willing to
realize
vote
that.
for 25 feet. It's fiberglass. So for me, I'm okay to advertise it, but just know that if you're going to balk on this 8 feet, or your sons are, which you don't own currently, and we're just trying to give you the rest of it, I'm going to be a hard no, because it's for the public's good to keep it. And that's my job up here, is to do what we can do to help all of Lake County, whether it's 10 years from now or 100 years from now. You're saying this is in the Green Swamp. Well, so was Dewey Robbins Road. Dewey Robbins Road was an Orange Grove road back when I was a kid. Now look at it. There's no telling what this is going to be in 50 years. It's our responsibility to look ahead and look at future, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah,
And Mr. Bailey, I certainly appreciate your phone call. And I'm sorry that we're on different ends of this, but for this 8 feet, I can't waiver my thing. Sorry.
And just to also make it, give you, in fairness, an indication of where I stand for the next meeting, I wholeheartedly agree with Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Campion. I think, I'm kind of wondering, 8 feet is causing all this a big of an issue. So I respect you got to go back and talk to your sons, and that's fine, but you know, for me, it's gonna, the dedication needs to be there, so.
Commissioner, a lot of it is if you know people in farming and agriculture, it doesn't sound like much to you, but, you know, people are funny about giving up anything, okay? But I do appreciate the discussion. Huh?
You don't have it now.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know if there's like somebody was advising that there may be economic gain from it or not, but that was a question, maybe because I'm a little cynical about that, but, you know, because, I don't know, I was wondering why it was just 8 feet was holding up all this, so.
I think the key is that we got to talk about it some more, and I'm happy to meet with you and your sons. The only part that the county is asking to keep is inside that easement area, not any other part of the property that you own outright without the encumbrance of an easement. The only thing that's being requested is if the county's going to get rid of the public's interest on that easement that encumbers your son's property, that the county wants to at least keep enough feet next to the road, that 8 feet. But I'm glad to sit down and meet with your family and.
Me too, and I'll be glad to go out to your property and look at this exact.
well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's move forward and get it advertised, if we can get a motion.
With the 33 feet or?
You're just going to advertise it the way it was requested.
Well, my recommendation is that you move it forward to advertise it with the county retaining 33 feet.
Okay, because then they can come back and they can
Right.
resubmit if they think
Right,
that.
because remember, you can always go less. You can't go more once you advertise.
Okay.
All right, I'll make that motion.
I'll
right.
second it.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're moving forward with the advertisement. Moving then to reports. County attorney,
Nothing.
county manager,
No reports.
Commissioner Parks.
Yeah, I'm happy to report that we had the next Public Lands and Trails Acquisition Committee meeting this past Thursday. Happy to report that the team, this board has done a wonderful job. They're doing a great job. They're working very hard. There was a lot of great discussion. When I think what we thought would be an hour or 2 hour meeting went several hours longer, probably could have continued to go longer. A lot of discussion about philosophies and some of I'm sure was tedious for staff because they look at review criteria and it's something that they do on a regular basis, so it seems fairly routine, but to a citizens advisory board, they really got into the philosophy and is this certain points percentage, should it be worth more or should it not be? So there was a lot of discussion about that. Ultimately, there was some changes made to the review criteria, and then the PLA TAC, as we're going to call it, recommended approval of the sort of revised review committee, both for the trail sides and the public lands outright categories. An issue has come up, I think, and there's several recommendations they already made. They made motions to present to the county commission, which I thought was good. They wanted to make it so there was no ambiguity to anything. So I think we'll get a report on those motions and what was decided here fairly soon. Big issue is timing, because the next time their meeting is in April, so a big part of the discussion was, can we meet more often? So I'm going to lay something on the table today that I think we need to think seriously and very diligently about, and that is staff has expressed a concern about meeting more often and the constraints that they have being that there's very few staff that are actually dedicated to it. So I'm not asking for an answer on that today, but it's something I think this board needs to be very considerate and thoughtful about trying to help staff and their efforts to get the applications done quickly. I can tell you, and I'm not exaggerating here, that we had a pretty decent-sized room, people with properties that, people in Lake County that had interest in their properties. And literally one or two I know walked out because when they started hearing about the timeframes of properties taking a year or more to close on, these property owners already have developer offers on the table or interest at least. So it's a little disheartening to hear about that. There is a bit of a race of time and the time value of money to try to get those properties into the system as quickly as possible. So one of the things I was going to ask for is if we could move, and I've talked with Jennifer about this as well, was seeing if we could open up the application period again on February 10th or somewhere around that time. I think there's a commission meeting where we could talk about it that day and make a decision. So maybe what I'm asking right now is that that be put on the agenda for us to open up immediately the application period based off of the new review criteria that the PLA TAC approved, and then move forward. That would maybe speed things up a little bit in terms of when some properties could be purchased. You can still, there's still big decisions to be made about how many tranches of the bond. You know, is it 25 here and then 25 in a couple years, or is it split into a third, or do we just do small amounts? There's still plenty of time to discuss that, but in the meantime, if we got the application period open sooner than later instead of waiting till April again, that could make a big difference, maybe perhaps on some of these properties. Ultimately, again, the decision to purchase these lands does come back to the county commission, but at least this PLA TAC can start reviewing some of these applications as they come in.
Okay.
So that's a
Yeah, put it
Yeah.
on the agenda.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you an update, and again, can't emphasize enough, I think it's a great committee. They were asking, all of them were asking a lot of good questions, a lot of good discussion on it. There's a lot of work to be done, and I do think the other side of that, again, is helping staff. So they did so that they can meet more often. The PLA TAC did want to meet more often. They made a motion to actually do that starting after April, every other month, but it might require even more so. It just depends, and so I see both sides of it, and I think we have to help them as well get through this. So you're smiling. I mean, that's good then. Okay.
Okay.
All right. That's my report. That's it.
Commissioner Smith?
I have no report.
Commissioner Morris? Just real quick on mine. Last week, we had 3 meetings, public meetings on the comp plan update. So I attended the one in Umatilla, and then attended the one in Leesburg, and then the last one was in Claremont, and Commissioner Parks and I were both there. All 3 meetings were really, really good meetings, good attendance, really good attendance over in, well, in Leesburg, we had a lot, and we also had a lot over in Claremont. And that school is fabulous.
Oh, Aurelia Cole? Yeah,
Yes,
it's a good
wow, that's beautiful, beautiful facility. So the staff did a great job, consultant did a good job. Glenn did an excellent job. Yeah, so, you know, frustration, heard a lot of the same frustrations about development orders, developments being approved, the distinction between the city-approved projects versus county-approved projects, where our jurisdiction ends in that regard. Talked a lot about transportation, congestion. You know, it was an opportunity for residents to talk about all their concerns about, you know, whether we have the public facilities to handle everything that's coming down the pike, and whether, you know, we heard everything, water issues, trails, roads, talked somewhat about concurrency, explained that, but essentially walked through the fact that this is a requirement by the state, the Growth Management Act, that we have to do this update, and we have to go out X number of years, and we don't have a map yet, so we don't know what that map is going to look like or be proposed to look like, and to what extent the inventory that exists already is going to be sufficient to handle the inventory that's projected, although those population numbers like really go up significantly between now and the horizon on this plan. So, yeah, a lot of difficult issues in the future, questions to address.
Can I tag one comment to that? And I appreciate you being there. The Claremont one, I would like to just be very positive and reinforce the staff's efforts to reach out to the Gen Z, as we had talked about it. And that was discussed at that Claremont meeting. So I thought that was great. I loved hearing all the input. is very valuable to how we write this comprehensive plan. So thanks
But
again.
you
for
did
doing
have a
that.
resident there who did not agree with you about that.
They did. I'm not going to mention that, but that's why I was going to be very positive and stay above that and say, I think that that is a great thing, because I think that that's part of what we're trying to do is think about where we go 20 years from now.
Well, yeah, and I think the issue was, they're the ones that we're passing this off to the next generation, so we want to
Yes.
hear from you. But the flip side of that is, hey, we're the wise older folks here, and
Or they're-
we
yeah.
need to make the decision so that you do have, what you need.
They're not going to live here. Well, we want them to live here. Wait a minute. I want my kids to live here. Yeah.
No, it was a good discussion. It was an interesting perspective. I had
Yeah.
not thought of it that way until we heard that night. Okay, and then the other thing is I attended a meeting in Mount Dora last week regarding the Dogwood Mountain, the Donnelly Street collapse, Dogwood Mountain flooding, Lake Gertrude, that whole area. We had Public Works staff there. Let's see, Bobby was there. And the city was going over a lot of the things that they've done through the years, things that they knew that they should have done through the years, things that were supposed to be done and maintained and so forth. And they talked about what they were going to try to do in the future. They're going to come back with sort of some time frames on getting some maintenance and so forth done. But they still have the issue of the stormwater structures that collapsed and what they're doing to get those built back better, so to speak, because that was really the big concern was if you're going to rebuild it and it collapsed before, what are you going to do to make sure that it doesn't collapse again? And one request I did want to put into Public Works was that we take a look at the structure that outfalls from Lake Gertrude, because the flooding that happened was primarily along those areas where there was a tremendous amount of velocity and volume of water coming through these hills and so forth and washing out areas. But if the lake gets so high, and let's just say we had another storm on top of the storm that happened on the 26th, the outfall, I don't know that there's enough outfall from Gertrude to get the water out of there fast enough. Not that you want to take Lake Gertrude down too far, but just that you need to be able to move it if you do have a situation where it's actually starting to flood. But we didn't have flooding of the people that lived around the lake. We had people that were all around the area in the hills and so forth that were flooded, but we didn't actually, no, we had docks underwater, but we didn't have houses underwater. But if that basin fills up and can't empty out to Lake Dora, then you could have flooding around the lake. Anyway, that was one thought that just kept coming back to me throughout that discussion, is they could get all of their drainage areas cleaned out, they could get everything put back in order, they could get these structures in place, and then we could continue to see, too much water that eventually gets down to the lake that has nowhere to go. So I just want to see if we could reach out to St. John's and look at, because it's the county's outfall structure from Gertrude to Lake Dora. And years ago, I remember when Jim Stivender was the Public Works Director, they actually went in there with cameras, discovered that the pipe was clogged. They revamped it, but I just don't know that it's large enough to handle the amount of water that would need to leave there to prevent flooding. So. Anyway, so those are my comments, and we're getting out of here by 11:30. And do you have a thing to share with us today?
I do, and as I look around the room, I think everybody here is going to understand this. I was kind of wondering we might have some of the younger generation here, but they wouldn't quite understand what's going on here. But today is National Disc Jockey Day. That's all I have.
Those are the ones that ride on horses?
And listen to music at the same time. Yeah. Okay, all right, so we will convene next Tuesday. We have a meeting next week, correct?
Yeah,
yes.
Wait.
No, it's the 28th.
Yes. So it'd be February 2nd, correct?
When is our next meeting?
Third.
February 3rd, okay. So we will be reconvening on February 3rd. So we stand adjourned.
Recording stopped.